So welcome to episode 2 of season 1 of the Financial Services Digital and Social Media Show. I'm Roger Edwards.
I'm Bridget Greenwood. Hello.
And this is the show for financial services professionals looking to embrace digital technology and social media for the benefits of their clients and their businesses. Today we're going to talk about the 7 Families campaign that's been running for over 12 months now in the UK protection market. UK protection, for anybody who's watching outside the UK, is insurance. It's all about life insurance, critical illness and income protection, but 7 Families is specifically about income protection. It's about protecting your family's income in the case of sickness and disability. And last week, the 7 Families campaign held what they called the Action Day. And this was a tsunami of social media activity. You had over 500,000 impressions for the social media campaign. So it's a fantastic achievement. This show is about financial services, about digital marketing, it's about social media. So Bridget, who's my co-host, perhaps you want to give us a little bit of your thoughts as a social media expert on just social media days like this in general before we talk to Karen a little bit about the 7 Families campaign and how that worked.
Okay. Well, I think that social media should be an integral part of all of the marketing that you do. So when we're thinking about what campaigns you might be running, are they real events where you're offline? Are they things that you're just choosing to do online? And it's about amplifying and engaging with your audience. And if you think about just the way that you use social media yourself, i.e. the content that you digest, the things that you reshare, the things that you pay attention to, there are things that are either going to educate you, that you share your values with, that will uplift you, that will entertain you, that will make you look good. So really it's all about sharing that sort of information. And I think the 7 Families, the campaigns that they've done, and especially with this Action Day, they've really thought about what would be the right content that would make other people, it's all about lifting other people up. It's about, it's about the care days, and I'm sure Karen will be able to tell us much more about that in some more detail. But it's how do you make other people feel good, feel part of a community, and allow them to go, do you know what, this is worth my time reading, and I wouldn't mind sharing it out with other people.
So Karen, welcome to the show. Great to have you here. Thanks for stepping in so early on a Tuesday morning. It'd be really good if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and of course 7 Families and how you got involved with it.
Yeah, I am part of a group called the Income Protection Task Force, which looks at various issues around why people don't protect their income in all its forms, one of those being insurance, and why people, we are very aware, and I'm particularly aware from my own background as a claims specialist, of what a difference it can make if people have some form of income protection at the time that they really need it. So that's my background has been working in the insurance industry, managing claims and helping people get back to work through the income protection claims management process that is kind of typical these days. So the Income Protection Task Force was looking at all the things that stop people protecting their income. And we started to realise that there was an awful lot of what I can only describe as boring statistics coming out of the industry. The same old research being done time and time again and put out in press releases about, all the things that consumers just don't do that we would like them to do. And we wanted to approach it differently, and instead of sort of telling people what's good for them, we wanted to have people at the heart of it and do a more of a show and let people work out what is right for them, for themselves, rather than us telling them what's good for them. So that's in a nutshell sort of how it started. And we had this germ of an idea that we could take some real families who have gone through a terrible medical event, and it's changed their lives and stopped them from being able to work, either temporarily or permanently in some cases. And we could follow their stories over the course of a year or more, and see, what were the challenges they face, what are all the issues, what difference does it make if you do have some form of income protection in place, and follow that through. So that's really, in a nutshell, what we wanted to do with the campaign.
So how difficult was it for you to get different competitors in the industry to work together? What was that process like?
It was actually a colleague of mine called Peter Bow was instrumental in galvanising support from around the insurance industry, because obviously you can't do something like this without proper funding. And so he was the one who really drove that whole galvanising of support. But actually, it was difficult, but it wasn't as difficult as we expected it to be, because I think people just kind of, the idea resonated straight away, I think. And it was very different from anything that we'd all done before. So,
yes, and that you're not promoting a product or a company. It's just, as you say, saying, look, this is what happens when you're affected by an illness and you can't carry on working the same way. And let's, as you say, share the stories of other people. So quite easy for, I think, other people to be able to get on board, because collaboratively you're raising the topic and also how people would, I think, perceive the industry. So for you, what are the changes that you would like to have seen, because we're over a year now that it started, how has that worked for you, and what do you think the changes for the future look like because of the Seven Families Initiative?
Yeah, we've essentially got two main audiences. One is the consumers out there, who are people that we want to get thinking about what they can do in their own family situation, and what would happen if they were in the kind of situation that our families have found themselves in. And the other group are the advisors and the people who are out there advising the general public about what to put in place financially, so that they don't go into meltdown should something awful happen, and they have an awful crisis and can't work anymore and lose their earning power. So it's very important that we get to as many of both of those groups as possible.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the strategy and the planning that led up to it? What you did in terms of, from a digital and social media point of view, and Roger's mentioned some of the results there.
Yeah. I should stress I'm not the social media expert in all this.
Yes.
I'll do my best.
Thank you.
Yeah, so what we wanted to do, because we do have 18 companies funding this, with an awful lot of people involved with those companies, and we've got a lot of supporters from around the rehabilitation companies who are supporting our families as well, and advisor firms, and all sorts of different people and different communities out there, as well as the people who've been following the campaign so far and have subscribed and liked the posts that we've put together. So what we wanted to do was to galvanise everybody at the same time and really make some noise, and see if we could create even more of a tidal wave of, I think you called it a tsunami, a great word, if we could sort of create a tsunami of content and create a bit of a buzz around the concept. And we came up with a theme around the caring side of these families, because what happens when one person has an illness, it doesn't just affect them, it affects everybody else in their family, it affects the people around them, and some of our own families need quite a bit of care. And we wanted to use the opportunity to say a big thank you to all those people who are providing care, either officially through their job, or through just being a member of the family. And we had a lovely film from the daughter of our seventh family, Melanie Knights, where her 21-year-old daughter does an awful lot of caring to help Melanie with general daily tasks, and that fitted very well with the whole theme. So we've put that through, and been sharing that very widely as well.
Because I think one of the things that I've really enjoyed about the campaign is we get to connect with real people, and whilst what's happened to them in terms of their illness has been quite devastating, how they've responded to it, how they've grown, how their family has supported them, I think they're just all champions. I mean, I really go by the grace of God, go the fact that it's not me. And I just wish I had an ounce of some of their strengths, the way that they, the whole family sort of just rally around and go, well, this is what we're dealing with. And life is still going to be positive.
Absolutely. I agree with that totally. And, some of our families have really taken such a positive attitude. And this doesn't come as a surprise to me, because I've worked in claims management for years and years and years, and I've seen this kind of thing. This is how people really are when they have a disability, and it's not sometimes the impression that you get painted in the media, that people are all sort of malingering layabouts. Well, we know in reality they're not, but they do need quite often a bit of help to find out where they can get the right help locally, and a bit of signposting and a bit of therapy and all sorts of things that will help them to take that positive attitude into something practical that helps them get through in the future, and potentially even return to some sort of earning power.
So in terms of the 7 families, they offered that support. Is that the sort of support that you would get if you were to make a claim?
Yes.
Okay.
It's very typical now. Many companies in the industry will have an emotional support level, and the kind of rehabilitation and access to rehabilitation and facilitating that, whatever would take it would help people to get back to work, is very typical of the way that claims managers run their operations these days.
So in terms of using social media to be able to get this message out both to consumers and to help advisors get it out and more their forethought, I know that I've read some of the stories of where one of the 7 family members I remember reading said that without this financial support and the other extra support that comes with it, that they felt that their life would have been, this recovery struggle would have been a lot more difficult. In terms of from a strategical point of view, how is that shared? I mean, you've got videos, were there interviews, were there blogs? Do you know a bit more about the actual nuts and bolts behind how you put those messages together?
We've mainly used the videos. Some of our families do have blogs as well, and their own Facebook pages and that sort of thing. So
the families themselves have their own social pages, and 7 families its own entity also has the same. So we've got multiple ways to reach. Okay.
Yes, that's right. But what the families have done was independent of ourselves, and we very much wanted them to tell their own story from the heart, from their own, how they see it, not directed them in how they should tell that story. We very much wanted them to get out what's important to them as well. So we have a YouTube channel and a Facebook page, and we post stuff on LinkedIn as well, and Twitter. Those are the main platforms that we're using.
I think there's a very important lesson, isn't there, here? Not only have we learned over the last few weeks how powerful social media can be to support a campaign like this, but I think 7 Families overall for me has just reinforced in my mind as a marketing person how utterly powerful real life stories are. The financial services industry is constantly being beaten up in the media, and quite often for really legitimate reasons. We screw up all the time, and there have been mis-selling scandals left, right and centre. But certainly in the protection market over the last decade, I really do think that companies have pushed themselves, and quite a lot of those practices that in the past have led to all of this bad publicity have been eliminated, which is fabulous for the consumer, obviously. But there's still a lot of latent mistrust amongst consumers about this industry and what we do. And my view is that the way to overcome those negative views and that mistrust is to tell more stories like this. And what I really hope happens as a result of this 7 Families initiative is that product providers, financial advisors, anybody who's involved, reinsurance companies as well, media companies, PR companies, realise that the real life story of the individuals who've been affected and have had their lives financially supported by what we do is going to be the way forward in trying to overcome those misperceptions. And I think I've become a bit of a cliche myself in saying that, yeah, Seven Families is a fantastic campaign. It's a great start. What we really need, though, is 7,000 families or 70,000 families or 70 million families, because we just need to get this message out there. And I think that what we achieved last week, to my mind, was a really great start, and says to the industry, social media works, real life stories work, and let's do more of it.
I think that's the point, Roger. We do have 70,000 or 70 million families in the course of what the industry has done over the years. You know, we do have them. That's what we've been paying.
Absolutely right.
But they're just not out there that people appreciate that that's what's been happening. You know, that all they ever see is the one that doesn't get paid, not the rest of them that do. So
indeed, and in terms of how we operate, people are very skeptical of what you say about yourself. So what the industry says about itself and what the industry says that we all need, they will believe what others say. So if a third party is saying, no, they don't play out any claims, then that's going to have more value just because someone else is saying it, because what Seven Families is doing is actually getting real people out there in real situations saying this has really helped to shape and change our lives. And I don't think you can persuade or get people to believe it in any other way from yourselves saying it, apart from supporting initiatives that allows Joe Public to be able to tell and share their story, which I love. It's one of the things I love about social media, because it's all about building the community and allow people to identify themselves in other people and say, okay, now I get it. And just going back to the Action Day from the strategy point of view, what I really had a chat with Kevin Carr, and it was lovely to see him organized. As you said, it was well organized. So everyone who is on the email list was warned plenty of time before the Action Day. I think up to, was it a month, 6 weeks before the Action Day, saying this is what's happened, so you can get it already in your diary. They got together videos that we could share out. There were images that we could share out, because we're visual creatures. And if you look at the stats on how we engage with social posts, if it's got an image, if it's got a video, we're much more likely to engage and reshare that. So taking in mind all of that, and then making the focus on a thank you to the carers, and putting in hashtags so that people could easily follow what was going on and reshare, was all part of making sure the Action Day was a success. And I think it's understanding the strategies behind putting into place how we can connect with people is an important part.
That was one of the things that I really enjoyed last Thursday, was responding to the hashtags, Bridget and Karen. So I set up a little stream in Hootsuite, which is a little program that I use to keep track of social media, and I focused in on the two hashtags that you use for the carers and for the Seven Families, and it was just great to see that the tweets just actually clicking down almost in real time. It's very, very unusual in the financial services industry to see so much activity about one particular subject, but this literally was a live stream, dropping, and I'm sitting there thinking, yes, this is actually working.
And people were resharing and putting their own thanks to whoever it was. So no, it was a very well thought out campaign, and I think the thing with social media is there needs to be this cultural shift where it's not about you and your company, it's about the audience and who you're looking to serve, which Seven Families has done very well.
I think it might have been you, Bridget, that said this. If not, I apologise. It may have been somebody else I heard on the internet, but somebody said, always remember that this is social media, not selfish media. And that's such a good quote, isn't it?
Very much so.
And I think a lot of companies do think, it's just another marketing channel, so we'll just use it. And I'm guilty of this as well. You promote, here's a post I've written, tweet it, or here's a video I've done, tweet it. But social media is social. It's about engagement. I always describe Twitter particularly as like being in a virtual pub, and you would go to the pub and you would sit round a table with a few drinks, and you would talk to your friends about how's the Seven Families campaign going. I saw this video. I saw that video. We must tell so-and-so about it. We must make sure that Joe Blogs down the road doesn't forget about this. And it's that sort of interaction of people sitting around talking and interacting, as opposed to it being promotional. So for me, again, this highlights that whole social aspect of it. And I suppose the other thing as well is that it proves again that social media works, and that product providers in particular shouldn't be frightened of using social media. I think there are still a lot of protection all product providers who have this inbuilt fear or paranoia that they're going to use social media and they're going to say something wrong, or they're not going to be compliant. And I think this shows it can work.
Yeah, I mean, if you're only talking about your brand, which Karen said it needs to be about the people that you want to influence, not about yourself. If you're only talking about your brand, then they can take your content and they can turn around and say, I didn't have that experience. And so if you're worried about protecting your reputation and that's all you talk about, then you are exposing yourself more if justifiably your company, is making those mistakes. And all companies make mistakes, but I get that. And I think that's, it's going to happen. But what you want to do is have a community of users of these 70, how many did you say people have been paid out throughout the income protection? 70,000 families?
I don't.
Yeah, well, the tens of thousands of those people out there who have actually had a really good experience.
I mean, how the product's been sold, it's into the millions,
Yes, so all of these people who had a good experience, what we want to be able to do is engage with them as well, so that when someone turns around and said, I had a bad experience, a whole bunch of other people will jump on board and say, actually, we've had a really good experience. So you're not having to defend yourself. Your community is already doing that. But if you just talk about you and yourself, people aren't going to want to do that because you're not talking about, the experience. So that's sort of one thing. And obviously the second thing is if you're worried about the regulator, at no point in 7 families who have got high engagement talked about a product. So there's been no financial promotions to worry about. So actually if you address social from the most effective way that it can be done, large amounts of people's concerns are already removed. And then once you start and you become more mature in your social journey, you have a better feel about how you can now go down that. Let's talk a bit more about ourselves in the most appropriate sections and what's the best way to manage that.
So Karen, thank you so much for coming on the Financial Services Digital and Social Media Show. It's been a pleasure to have you. Bridget, thank you as always.
No problem at all. And just a reminder, if there is anything that you would like us to cover in future blabs, just let us know if you want to tweet us. So I'm at Bridget FSM. Roger, our handles are the Twitter handles are the same as the blab ones. That would be great. Or you can find us online and email or give us a call.
Great stuff.